We are at the coolest wine bar in Halifax, Nova Scotia, at the corner of Barrington and Sackville, Obladi Wine Bar. And Heather Rankin, you are proprietress, is that correct?
I'm a co-proprietress or co-proprietor.
Right.
My brother Christian owns it as well. Christian can wave.
There he is. Hey.
Yes,
but great spot, and it's all about wine.
Wine and cheese and charcuterie as well, but the focus is the wine.
Okay, now you've picked out two lovely ones for us. I wanted a red, so you've chosen...
I've chosen an Argentine Merlot from the Uco Valley in Argentina.
Okay.
Because you said you liked Merlot.
I do.
So really soft, plummy, smoky, kind of peppery characteristics. Lovely wine, very easy drinking.
Nice. And for Dana, something from our host city, so to speak.
That's right. Dana is drinking an Avondale Sky winery wine called Bliss. It's made from the Geisenheim grape, and the wine is very characteristically Nova Scotian.
Do you love it?
I do, actually.
You know, this is a very food for you to really enjoy it, but this is a very easy sipping wine. Hot day, I think it'd be really quenching. This is a great choice, so thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Heather, and thanks for letting us come here for this interview.
Not a problem. Enjoy.
All right, very good. So Bliss, I love that name too.
I know.
And I'm in heaven because I always get sort of nervous when I meet somebody I follow on Twitter, because it's like stalker or no, just fan, really.
Well, Twitter's changed the way we interact with people.
Right.
It used to be a few years ago when I would join listservs and groups and things that my husband would call my internet friends my imaginary friends, because you never really anticipated that they'd become part of your life.
Sure.
But now, I have to say, you're one person, and many other people who follow me on Twitter have literally become people I care about.
Yeah.
And I will, send them a direct message saying, oh, how did that go? Or are you okay? And then I realize I've never met them. So they're not pretend friends anymore. They're real friends. It's changed the nature of how we look at those relationships.
Indeed. And I got to just say off the record, well, not off the record because you tweet about it, but your husband is a fantastic chef. And
yes,
I have a little bit of envy when I read your tweet.
I'm super lucky.
With what you have for supper some night.
Yeah, my husband Martin Coupry is the executive chef and co-owner of Pangea, which is a 15-year-old restaurant in Toronto, always winning awards. He and I met working in the restaurant business together.
Now you're a chef.
I'm trained as a chef, but then I moved into doing sort of the corporate side of things.
Now, the title, Food Trend and Innovation Expert.
Yeah.
And also an author and also an editor of some of Canada's biggest magazines. I mean, what a judge to have on this show.
Thank you. No, and it's funny because I have a degree in English literature. Then I went to chef school. It sounded like I had this big plan to get involved in writing cookbooks and working in the food media business, but I didn't. I just thought I'd run some cute little sandwich shop. But my life has been so amazing. It's had a life of its own. So once I had all those credentials, people kind of found me and said, hey, there's an opening at Canadian Living in the Test Kitchen.
Wow.
Will you work? Will you apply? And I'd be like, oh, okay. And same thing with Recipe to Riches. I was sitting in my office where I am in charge of innovation at Jane's Family Foods.
Right.
And I get this phone call. It's like, would you come and audition for our show? And I'm like, oh, okay. So, I'm probably the luckiest person in the world.
Well, let's talk about the show, because that's why you're here in Halifax. It's part of this nationwide casting for this show, and I really got hooked on it. And I wonder, too, if you guys going into it, Laura, Tony, and yourself, sitting there watching these people come in, did you ever imagine it would become the phenomenon that it has?
Truthfully, a year ago today, we did our Halifax audition a week earlier. A year ago today, I was like, oh, I don't know. Because, when you're on a television show as a judge, the way I am, you're not involved in the project from the conceptual level. And so you're really you're this high above the furniture. They get everything ready, and then they trust you to know what you're talking about, and then they bring you and they sit you down. They don't tell you a lot of stuff. And I was like, oh, I don't know. This is like, who's going to want to watch these people? But I was so proud of the show when it aired. It's a reality show where people compete, but I think we celebrate successes. We don't tear people down.
No.
It's very...
there's tears, there's laughter, there's tension.
But it's usually, it's usually good-hearted. Like, the tears are not people...
Except for Tony. I'm not going to kid you.
Well, I think Tony would like us to say he's our curmudgeon, our Simon. But you have to know that he's working so hard to be a mean guy. He wants.
I know Tony.
He wants people to do well.
He's been mean to me a lot over that.
Really?
I'm just kidding. No. He's a doll, but there's a credibility to the three of you that you bring to this judging process that, I mean, I'm not sure the average person walking in off the street with their recipe, because that's really what it is. I mean, They're coming in with either their traditional dish or something they've dreamed up, and they're saying, here, eat this. And you guys know what you're talking about.
And we have to be honest with people. It was hard sometimes to see somebody come in, and this isn't generally a recipe that people have just made up the day before. It's usually something that's been in their family a long time or that they have a personal connection to. So it's like putting a piece of yourself there in front of us, and then we go, yeah, no. And that hurts. You can see it in people's faces. So that's why I try not to be too harsh about it, because I just so respect people who will put themselves out there and take a chance. Our winner last year, Glo McNeil from Lunenburg, Nova Scotia.
Yes.
82 years old. Came out to our auditions with a bunch of her friends, and her daughter drove and came to Halifax. And when I talked to her later, she just came for a fun day. And look what it got her. It got her $250,000. If she had gone, I don't know, what if they don't like my pudding, and stayed at home and crocheted that day, so she was brave.
Take a chance.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Okay, now taking a chance are the three of you, because I understand there's no real vetting. There's not some sort of person outside the door that goes, we are not going to.
There's no royal taster, sadly.
So what's that like? I mean, because you're eating, what are you talking about dish-wise? Like,
lots.
Yeah.
Like already for tomorrow, we have 80 people lined up to bring us their recipes. And we owe it to all those people because they've been guaranteed a spot to give their recipe careful consideration. And what's really the weird part about it is, at the beginning of the day, you can take a small bite and your palate's in good shape and you can get a lot out of it. And sadly, as you get more full, your palate is more fatigued and you actually end up having to eat more.
Is that true? Is this a technical thing? Or just
in the sensory science world, there is research about this, and they say that
it's not that kind of website.
Yeah.
This is a bonus now. I love it.
But they say after eating or drinking 7 things, you do need to take a break because your palate will have some fatigue.
And you're doing 80.
More, because that's just the people registered. Then we have the people who just turn up.
Oh my.
So long story short, to get more out of it and to really, give people a fair chance in the afternoon versus the people in the morning, you actually sometimes have to take 2 or 3 bites to really be thoughtful about it. And you're not just finding a food because of hunger. And you're wearing clothes that they're like will freak out at you if you're ruined because you don't own them.
Right. Oh my gosh.
You're not wearing your buffet pants.
Talk about that process when there's 3 of them, and then they go into that crazy test kitchen or whatever you call
the batch-up challenge.
The batch-up challenge. That's wrong. That's wrong, Dana.
No, it's super important though.
It's so like.
What's wrong about it?
Well, it's
Stephanie,
just the tension alone.
Tell me
First of all, I would be in tears with the dish from the get-go. I'd be crying, going, "Please eat this." And then you send these poor souls into a kitchen. Now, granted, they're with mentors. That's nice. But the pressure to create 200.
But you know why it's
dishes.
important? A lot of people miss the point of the batch-up challenge. They think it's just to have samples for when they do the marketing challenge, but it's not. The real thing is, and there were a couple of people who we eliminated right after that because we realized that their recipe was not written well enough to be handed off to a food scientist to duplicate. So what we're doing in there is we're really, yes, of course,
feasibility study.
Stephanie can make it, Dana can make it, but can I hand it off to, Miss X or Mr. X and have him make it? And if you can't, then it's not a viable product.
So great to be able to go into stores every week and see a brand new product. That's awesome.
It is, and to know the people behind it and the story. It's, I just think it's going to help us to get along the road to codifying what modern Canadian cuisine is. It's more than lobster. It's more than maple syrup. It's more than salmon. It's more than wheat. It's the people, and I love the diversity of people that we got and the diversity of ideas and the ages, and I just hope season 2 gets us the same kind of choice because it really happened so organically and naturally.
Yeah. So am I to imagine then that you've not come and partied? You've just worked? Is that right? You need to come back.
I want to come back. And I have been to Halifax so many times, and I've never been here when there hasn't been snow on the ground.
Oh, stop it.
What the hell's wrong with that?
Well, I don't know. We're great all year round. As are all the other
I'm dying time to come here in the summertime.
But you really should. You're missing out.
I think so.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and now we've got one spot covered. You should just come back and we'll go to all the bars in Halifax, and then move on to PEI, and then.
I have no problem with that.
Or restaurants, or shopping.
I could do all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all interests of mine. All interests. I'm in. Count me in.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. So great to meet you.
So good to meet you too.
Recipe to Riches, Season 2, and to Dana McCauley in Halifax. Woohoo!
Woohoo!